folks, we expect to have more people join us as usual. We'll probably, in the next few minutes, we'll go ahead and have other people who will join us, and you're welcome to, and we'll make sure that you're included within this. But we'd like to go ahead and get started right now. My name is John Anderson. I work in SCORE Central Maine chapter, and thank you for joining us today for SCORE Maine, and welcome to our webinar on tools to project your business. We are a resource partner of the Small Business Administration, and we help clients like you at all stages of the business cycle from pre-start right up through exit. I have helped businesses start. I've also helped businesses sell, just as a for instance, and everything in between. And we want to thank especially the Lewiston Auburn Metro Chamber of Commerce, Katie Palmer right there. Hi, Katie. You know, thank you very much, Katie, for your participation in this and all that you do for the small business community. You're a great partner, and we really value that. We also want to thank the Kennebec Valley Chamber too, another very, very valuable Chamber of Commerce relationship that we have with SCORE. Makes possible an awful lot that we're able to do to serve Maine's small business community. And we look forward to your questions as they arise. You can use the chat function on there, or you can use I do not see the Q&A. Just go ahead and use the chat, or even better, if you do have a question, go ahead and I will ensure that you are able to talk, that you are able to you'll just go ahead and unmute yourself and chime in as you see fit. Also would like to ask you to keep your microphone muted if you are not participating or if you are not asking a question in that particular time. If I see that your microphone is not muted and you're not, maybe what I'll do is I'll be able to go right in there and mute it for you, just so we don't have your dogs barking or your cats meowing or etc. Distracting. So. And I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Bill Webster, who designed and will be presenting this webinar. Really value Bill and his expertise. If you are from Lewiston, Auburn, you may remember him as a superintendent of schools. But more likely, if you've ever had any delicious Havens Candies, that's Bill. Bill used to own and operate Havens Candies, and that's Bill. That's my connection with you, I think. So, but I really value Bill. He's a Bowdoin graduate and also a graduate of UPenn's Wharton School of Business. And Bill, why don't we go ahead and take it away? Anxious to hear what you have to share with us today.
Well, thank you, John. And I'm going to go to the second slide. Do you want to do this, and then I'll start my presentation?
Certainly.
Now let's see here if I can. Why isn't that advancing? Oh, there we go. Okay.
And if you are wondering what SCORE is, these are some of the things that we will do to help you, the small business owner and operator, or those who aspire to it. We're the largest mentoring and small business education work in the United States. Like I said before, we're in cahoots with the SBA, working with them. Everything we do is free. Everything we do is free. All the mentoring, all the workshops. We have a variety of different templates and things like that that you can do and use yourself to improve your performance in the small business sphere. And we have over 100 mentors throughout Maine. Not all of us are retired. There are quite a few of us who are still in the working world, but people like Bill and I have had a long and perhaps sordid business career, but we would like to share that with you. We've had a lot of experience we can help you out with, and that goes for all of our mentors. And if you do want to sign up for any kind of a mentor relationship, just get on score.org. And you not only can sign up for mentors there, but you can also download helpful templates. You can see upcoming workshops, and you are not only just I can't think of the word right now, but you're not only confined to Maine. Is that SCORE is a nationwide organization, and you can search all the other states and cities to find what you're looking for as well, and we'll help you do that as well. Bill, over to you.
Very good. Thank you, John. Well, I'm going to start off this presentation a little different than a lot. And right at the top, every financial projection that you might be involved with will be wrong. You're going to have incorrect assumptions. You're going to not have anticipated all the factors that may influence your numbers. You're going to make an error, or some of your circumstances may have changed. Nonetheless, projections serve a very valuable purpose. They provide a roadmap for decision making. The key is to be very clear in your assumptions and compare your projections to actual. And then you're able to identify what changed and you make your next projections more accurate than the first ones that you did. Now, why would you want to project your business? Perhaps you're trying to develop a budget or establishing goals for your organization. Maybe you want to test an idea. You got a new product and you want to see what its impact might be under certain assumptions. This third bullet is a critical one in that it helps you assess your cash flow. Just because a business is profitable doesn't mean it's got positive cash flow. And a projection can be very helpful in assessing what your cash needs are. You may be wanting to value your business, and that cash flow will be instrumental in helping you do that. Perhaps you're trying to make a pricing decision, and you're going to make certain assumptions on the types of demand at different price levels. What would your financials look like? Projections are a critical component of almost all business plans, which would be required to seek financing or perhaps applying for a grant. And you may also trying to plan for taxes, and projections can help you assess what you should be doing there for withholding or whatever other tax issues you may be dealing with. Now, these are, in summary, what we're going to be going over in the next half hour or so. What's called break-even analysis. I'll go into that in more detail. Projections tool that might be in accounting software you already have. Also, projection software that is readily available online, some free, a lot for a fee. And then some spreadsheet options that for those of you, and I do encourage you to become more familiar with spreadsheets and maybe attempt to do some of your own. So let's first talk about break-even analysis. So it answers, in the first bullet, it answers the question, what level of sales will put my business at a break-even point? Meaning that any sales over that level, you're going to have higher profitability, and any sales under that level, you're actually going to be operating in loss. And this would be an important factor for any business to know, particularly those that may be operating on the margin. Now, how do we do that? Well, we need to first identify the fixed costs of the business. And these would be costs that aren't going to change greatly over sales, at least not in the short term. So rent would be an example of that. And then we're going to identify variable costs. And these are costs that fluctuate with sales. If you're selling a product, obviously the cost of goods, which might be a percentage, would be critical. If you're more in a consulting business, perhaps it's going to be other factors. Maybe you're paying a sales commission. We'll come back to that in a second. Now, I'm going to get into the algebra just a little bit here. If your eyes glaze over, don't worry. I'm going to quickly get through it, and we'll get right to the nuts and bolts of this. But the formula, in effect, is sales. What sales level, which if I subtract fixed costs, and I subtract my variable costs that are as a percentage of sales, equals 0. And so that's the break-even thing. Now, in this next slide, I'm going to, if you want to come back and look at this, you can see the formula because we've got to solve for sales. Now, this is high school algebra that I'm sure was a favorite subject for many of you, but probably the worst subject for others too. So I'm not going to go down through that, but you look at that bottom formula. Sales, again, this is break-even sales, equals fixed costs divided by 1 minus the variable cost percentage. We'll come back and we'll actually do an example of this. But first, let's look at some examples of fixed and variable costs. This is a very simple model. and yours may be quite different, but I think you'll get the point. Fixed costs, that first column of numbers, do not change, at least not radically, with sales. So rent, $46,000 a year. Now, obviously, if you were to double your space or have your space, your square footage, that number can change. But generally, rent is used as a fixed cost, as is insurance, legal and accounting, and perhaps other fixed expenses. You might have a manager's salary that is unchanged regardless of your sales level. But in this simple example, you can see you have those 4 fixed costs that total $60,000. Now, variable costs is a percentage of sales. That's the second column. And not all this will be applicable depending on your type of business, but at least gives you an idea of how you might use this. Cost of sales, 30% of sales, meaning that if you sold something for $1, the product cost on average would be 30 cents because it's 30% of your sales. Sales commission, 7% in this example. Shipping costs, packaging, and what have you at 3%. Again, in this simple model, variable costs are 40% of sales. So I've got fixed costs of 60,000. These are annual numbers, and variable costs is a percentage of sales equal to 40%. Now, I go back to that formula that we showed earlier. Sales equals fixed cost divided by 1 minus variable cost. If I plug in my numbers from the previous chart, the break-even sales equals 60,000 divided by 1 minus 0.4, which comes to 0.6. And 60,000 divided by 0.6 has break-even sales of $100,000. This is a simple analysis, but one that I think is informative for almost any business. And in this simple example, sales over $100,000 a year will generate profitability, and sales under $100,000 would generate a loss, at least under these numbers that we're using. So that's a simple start to our tools to project your business, break-even analysis. Now let's talk about accounting software. Most of you that are in business, if you are already using accounting software. I've got 3 listed here. QuickBooks is obviously pretty popular. And they have, in many cases, built-in features for creating financial forecasts and projections. So please look at that if you already have an accounting software package. Some of them may be quite simple, and it may not be particularly helpful. But you may still want to use your accounting software to perhaps generate your initial inputs into your projection. So you can often export, that's that second bullet, files or numbers from your accounting software going right in to a spreadsheet, perhaps. Also, you can just print out or copy information directly from the accounting software into whatever projection tool you're using. So anyway, that's just how you might use the accounting software that you already have. Now, another option, or maybe using an input in part from your accounting software, is using projection software. There are a number of programs out there. And if you do a web search on any one of these, you'll be able to assess whether it works for you. This, interestingly enough, this list was my using artificial intelligence. I used ChatGPT, which is a nice tool. It's not always accurate, as most AI is not always accurate. But it gave me this list and something to start. And I did, in fact, go and look at some of these, look pretty good. And what you'll find, for example, on some of them is that they'll have different templates depending upon the industry that you're in. So look at these. You got Airbnb, weddings, brew pubs, coffee shops, professional service, et cetera, et cetera. You picked your industry, and it'll give you a template for that industry. And then you'll fill in certain assumptions and your costs, like your rent and sales price and things of that nature. And it will generate a 5-year projection, including profit and loss, and most importantly, cash flow. So I encourage you to look at these, particularly if you're not familiar with spreadsheets in general. This is a great way to get started in projecting your business going out as much as 5 years. Now, there are some caveats to using projection software. You don't own it, you didn't develop it. There's a risk in you not fully understanding how the numbers are generated. Could you answer a question, for example, that a lender might ask? So you need to better understand any projection tools that you're using as to how it uses the assumptions you put in and how it generates the numbers before you. There's often limited customization, and you may end up using a template that doesn't really fully represent your business. There may be assumptions or formulas that are built into the template that you don't fully understand or appreciate. And so you really need to assess that and look at that more closely. And then obviously, particularly initially, you've got an untested model. You don't know how it compares to your actual results. And perhaps down the road, you can make that comparison and have a better sense of how accurate and how good that projection template is for you. So here's a approach for you to consider, is that maybe you start with a free or an inexpensive projection template. And in so doing, you start to learn the basics of developing and using spreadsheets until you can finally develop your own model. And we're going to talk a little more about that, as well as the benefits of experimentation and using what's called what-if analysis. What if my prices change? What if inflation were different? Any number of questions. And then you can compare your projections to actual to further fine-tune your model. So let's take a look at what-if analysis. And some of the questions. What if my revenue growth stagnates? What if you've been growing at 20-30% and all of a sudden it ends up being a much smaller number? What if inflation is greater than expected? What if my production costs are greater than point? What if I provided my projections to the bank and the results turned out to be less? So these are all what-if analysis that spreadsheets can be very helpful in playing with. So let's take an example. So this is a very simple model. And the boxes that are in yellow in my little simple spreadsheet here are all inputs. And the 3 years that are shown are computed from those inputs. So the revenue base is the first year sales, 80,000, and you can see in 2024 the revenue is 80,000. And then in the second input, annual growth of 24%, and that's this box right here. If 80,000 grows by 25% a year, it's 100,000 in 25 and 125,000 in 26. And you'll notice these numbers are similar or the same as to what the break-even analysis numbers are in terms of fixed costs of 60,000, and you can see variable costs of 40%. And in fact, if you look at 2025, you'll see a net income of 0, which is that break-even number that we saw earlier. And in this, again, simple example, we are losing 12,000 in 2024, break even in 25, and then we have 15,000 in 26. And a nice thing to have in any projection is cash flow. And you can see beginning cash at the bottom, and you can see the ending cash, which is the beginning cash minus, in this simple example, of your net income or your loss. And the ending cash in year 1 goes down to 18,000. So now let's just take a look at making some simple changes on that what-if analysis. So the first one, and I got it. All right, come on here. Well, all right, there we go. Next slide. So the annual growth had been 15%. I've made it 15%. I mean, it had been 25%. I made it 15%. What impact does that have on my cash flow and my profitability? And you can see those sales now, instead of going from 80,000 to 100,000 or 80,000 to 92, still pretty good growth, but now I'm losing money and I don't get profitable until 2026. Again, I've still got positive cash flow, but it's certainly gone down. Now let's take another example where my sales are still at 25% growth, but my annual inflation is now 10% and my variable costs are at 45% rather than the 40%. Again, I'm losing money not only in the first year, but the second year. And look what happens in 2026. I actually have a negative cash. Here are some spreadsheet options. There are typically three main types of spreadsheets used. Microsoft Excel, which is a common is a Microsoft package on PCs, although you can also get it for Apple as well. Google Sheets, which is common in Google Drive, and Apple Numbers, which is typically available on all Apple products, including their PCs and iPads. There's a link here to free training that's available. In the case of Excel, it's through Khan Academy. Google Sheets is with Google, and then Apple is Numbers User's Guide for the Mac. So I'd encourage you to use these. They're attend our YouTube videos and the like, and are pretty easy to follow. Also, with SCORE, we have a number of templates that you can use. Now, we encourage that you go through these with a mentor, but you can get online and click on these links, and all of you will be getting this presentation. So you can just click on these links and go right to the model that you might want to use. And you can see we also have one that's specifically for a service business. So I've covered a lot of ground, and I'd like to open it up for questions. And I'm going to stop sharing, but we can go back to the presentation of something specific that you'd like to go over.
And Bill, I just wanted to let you know that everybody here, they can go ahead and they can unmute themselves and participate in the discussion. If you're having any problem whatsoever, please let me know in the chat, and I can go ahead and unmute you as well.
Very good. Thank you, John. So I've thrown a lot at everybody, and as is the case with anything to do with numbers, there can be different levels of expertise and knowledge of what I've covered over. For some of you, I may have done a little more than you were ready for today. For others, that may all be old information that you already know and have mastered. So what questions and how can we help further?
Bill, I thought it was helpful to point out that we do have templates that already exist at score.org that will be very helpful for this, and they're free. They're downloadable and they're free, and they'll possibly be of quite a big help to a small business owner.
So let me put people right on the spot. I'm going to speak to you first, Jody, and just have you done any projections in your business or organization, and how does it work for you?
I do projections every year, and I actually have QuickBooks, so I use my budgets on QuickBooks. I do those projections. I also do my, of course, I do mailing, right? So for me, I do my mailing, my printing, my labor. Those are my three big expenses. And as we all know, mailing has just skyrocketed, so has in printing. So more and more, I find myself where I was kind of, doing the same old budgets over the past couple of years. I've been really tweaking my budgets. just to keep up with all the changes. So it's so helpful for me to do projections because I gotta know I'm gonna be experiencing another mail increase. So those are parts of my projections. So, you know, I'm always juggling. So yes, the budgets are very helpful for me and I stick to them.
Okay, so are you using the projection tool in QuickBooks, or do you do a separate spreadsheet?
Yeah, I use QuickBooks and then I download it on an Excel sheet.
Yep.
And I do my own, I write my own macros in there and I just run it out that way. I actually didn't know that there were other tools out there. Like I didn't know that SCORE offered a tool and I didn't know of all these other ones, which I wrote down because that might be very helpful to me. So I wouldn't have to do my own. I just built my own spreadsheet for it.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Sarah, anything you'd like to share or any questions? And then I'll turn to, looks like Z has joined us, and I didn't know if you had any questions or anything you'd like to share about how you might project your organization.
Well, thanks for the opportunity of chatting. I can't put myself on because my background has got all kinds of designs and intellectual property stuff. My corp is still not open. Hopefully we can open this month, but yeah, a lot of this stuff is flying over my head. Some
Well,
of it I understand.
feel free to reach out to a SCORE mentor. It wouldn't cost you a thing other than your time, but hopefully you'd find it time very well spent. And we'd definitely help hold your hand and work through some of this because we don't want it to be Greek to you.
Yeah, well, I've tried to ask a few times questions, and there's a shocking lack of answers I got from them. Either they just ignored the email and the question altogether, or
Well,
I don't know.
if you want to go to score.org and put in a request, then you can put my name right in, Bill Webster, and I'll make sure you get serviced.
Okay, thanks.
You're most welcome. I don't know if Katie or Sarah, if either of you have any other questions, or we're providing more time for people's lunch break.
I'm all set, Bill. Thank you, though.
Okay, Katie, thank you. Sarah, I don't want us to leave without giving you every opportunity to speak up if you've got something you'd like to share or ask a question. Looks like we may be good, John.
Okay, Bill. Folks, I'm going to go ahead and we'll wrap this up now. Like Bill said, if you do have any questions or if you're interested in any mentoring opportunities, go right to score.org. You can not only request a mentor there, but you can also have access to a wealth of workshops, templates, etc., that you can just go ahead and search for yourself and bring right in there. I'd like to thank everybody for attending today's workshop. We'll send you a copy of the slides, the slide deck to review, and you'll get that in a few business days. We'll also make sure that you get a brief online survey. We want to improve. If there's anything you think that we can do to improve, we'd like to do that. We'd appreciate you filling that out, but it's entirely up to you. And as a reminder, like we've said all along here, the SCORE offers free confidential one-on-one mentoring, whether you're starting or growing or selling your business. And it's easy to request a meeting with a mentor. Just go to score.org, fill out a brief online form, and we'll get back to you. We are a nonprofit partner of the SBA with 170 chapters around the country, with 3 right here in Maine. And we've helped over 11 million entrepreneurs since 1964. And we hope to see you again at one of our future events.
So John, I'm on your website. So where do I find the template for the projection? scores template? Is it under a certain heading?
It probably is, but I've only gone to it using the links that were, let's see here. Now let's see here.
It says templates and resources.
Oh, yeah, that it is in there. Alternatively,
But you have it hot linked, yeah.
if I'm going to put these in the chat.
Okay.
What business do you do, Jody?
Turner Publishing,
Okay.
community papers, like, I don't know if you're in Lewiston, you're in Central Maine, right? Is that where you are?
I'm in Woolwich.
Oh, you're in Woolwich? Yeah, we don't reach Woolwich. But we saturate all of Central and Western Maine and parts of Southern Maine. We're in
Okay.
7 counties. So
Mhm.
we have community publications. It's all good news. We follow the children's sports. We do fun and games and stuff like that for the kids.
Right,
We
right.
make our money through ads, of course, and we mail out publications free. We have over 600,000 readers.
Wow. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and we have a
Nice.
digital platform too. We don't charge for that either. That's free too.
Well, your brother-in-law is pretty sharp with content too, so he may come looking for a job. And tell him I sent you or something like that.
Your brother-in-law?
Because he's as you know, he's the deputy chief of public affairs out at NORAD Northcom, and that's where he and we both done a lot of writing and speaking and photography and everything like that in our careers. And your
Little
business
John.
sounds right up our alley.
No, Little John has sent me stuff.
Yeah.
Typically, it's when when they do the whole Santa, the kids looking for Santa, to track them
Yeah.
throughout the night.
That's right.
Yeah, he still does that.
Yeah, that's a fun thing, isn't it?
Even though his kids are grown.
That's a fun thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you able to pick that up off the chat, Jody? What Bill had pasted in there?
Oh, yes, great.
Good. Okay.
Yes, fabulous.
Good.
Thank you. Whoops, now I just lost you, but I got it.
Yeah. Well, you're near family, so we want to take good care of you.
Thank you. I had one more question. So
Yes.
will you be, Bill, sending the whole program, even 1, 2, and this one, number 3? To, like, because I missed 1 and 2.
Right. Let me double check, Jody. I'll double check and we'll make sure that we do send you 1 and 2 as well.
Great, thanks.
You should get it, but I'll double check. And if we're not doing that, I'll make sure that you get 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah, nice job. I thought it was very well explained, Bill. Very simple.
Thank you, Jody.
Well, one thing I like about it with Bill is he's actually had to do it and it's had to make it actually work. This is not just a theoretical.
Well, thank you all. And John, does Michael send out the presentations to everybody?
He does. So it'll be in a
Okay.
couple days.
So I will send mine to his, and I'll also mention that people have asked if they could get all 3.
Right. That's
Okay.
great. That would be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Have a
Right.
good day.
Yeah,
Good to see you
tomorrow,
again,
Katie.
Katie. Good to meet you, Jody.
Yeah.
thank you
You
both.
too. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.